Every morning, when your eyes open and the world begins to stir around you, you are given a choice, a chance, a moment of silence, before the noise, before the distractions, where you can plant the seeds of strength, discipline, and clarity. What you tell yourself in those first moments sets the tone for everything that follows. So ask yourself, are your words building you or breaking you? In this life, true transformation doesn't come from the outside, it begins inside. In the dialogue you choose to have with yourself, not once, not twice, but every single day, that is the practice, that is the path. Today, I will share with you 9 powerful things to tell yourself every morning, not as mere affirmations, but as anchors, as reminders of your inner power, your direction, and your discipline. This is not about motivation, it is about mastery, about aligning thought with action and spirit with purpose. Let us begin. Every morning when you wake up, the first thing that greets you is not the noise of the world, but the energy you carry within yourself. Before you reach for your phone, before you hear another voice, before the sun fully rises, your inner world is already at work. Your thoughts begin to move, your emotions begin to stir, and your body prepares to step into another day. In this silent space, there is one undeniable truth. You are responsible for your own energy. It does not come from the outside. It is not something that others can create for you. It is not something that magically appears. It is something you must generate, maintain, and protect. You may not always have control over what happens outside of you, but you always have control over what happens within. The energy you choose in the morning determines how you walk through the world. Whether you carry tension or peace, irritation or calm, weakness or power, it begins with the energy you cultivate, and this is not a passive act. It is an act of awareness. It is an act of intention. You must become deeply conscious of how you speak to yourself when the day begins, because the moment you say, "I am tired," "I am not ready," "I can't do this," you are shaping your energy. You are giving direction to your mind and body. You are laying down the path for the rest of your day. To take responsibility for your energy means to stop waiting for the perfect circumstances to feel strong, focused, or motivated. It means not relying on praise, comfort, or the absence of obstacles to feel empowered. It means choosing your energy deliberately. If your mind feels heavy, you learn to breathe deeply and release. If your thoughts are scattered, you bring them back through stillness and simplicity. If your body is tired, you honor it by moving with intention, not laziness. The energy you need is already within you, but it must be unlocked, and it is unlocked through rituals, through practices, through conscious repetition. Each morning, your energy is like a fire. You can feed it or neglect it. You can ignite it or let it fade. The words you speak to yourself act like wood for the flame. The breath you take is like air to the spark. The posture you carry, the silence you sit in, the movement you begin your day with, all of it is part of the responsibility you hold. If you begin your day complaining, blaming, and rushing, your energy will mirror that. But if you begin with gratitude, presence, and clarity, you will find yourself walking through even the most difficult day with strength and resilience. Taking responsibility also means recognizing when your energy is affected by others. When someone speaks negatively to you, when a situation tries to pull you into chaos, when the world feels overwhelming, the question is not, "Why is this happening to me?" The question is, "How do I choose to respond?" This shift in mindset gives you your power back. No longer a victim of energy, you become the master of it. You learn to pause. You learn to step back. You learn to reset. You realize that external events may trigger emotions, but they do not have to control your entire state of being. This practice is not something that happens once. It is something you return to every single morning. You do not wait for life to be easy before you take control of your energy. You do it in the middle of discomfort, stress, and uncertainty, because that is where true mastery lies, not in controlling the world, but in mastering the way you move through it. Not in avoiding the storm, but in becoming the calm within it. Your energy is your responsibility. No one else will protect it for you. No one else can generate it for you. If you give it away to distractions, negativity, or doubt, you will find yourself depleted. But if you guard it, if you feed it, if you treat it with respect, you will find that it becomes your greatest strength. This is the beginning of inner power, the kind that does not shout but speaks with quiet certainty, the kind that does not react but responds with clarity, the kind that is not swayed by the outside world because it is rooted deeply within. Discipline is often misunderstood. Many see it as a form of restriction, something that takes away freedom or comfort. But those who walk the path of growth, who seek mastery over the self, begin to see it differently. Discipline is not a punishment. It is a form of self-respect. It is the structure that supports your progress. It is the daily companion that guides your energy toward what matters most. When you wake up in the morning and remind yourself that discipline is not your enemy but your ally, you begin to shift the way you move through life. Every meaningful achievement, every deep transformation, every act of inner strength is built on a foundation of discipline. Without it, motivation fades, inspiration dies, and good intentions are lost in distraction. With it, you don't wait to feel like doing the hard things. You do them because you've made a promise to yourself. That promise is not based on emotion. It is based on clarity. You do not wake up every morning driven by how you feel. You wake up aligned with what you have chosen, and that choice is discipline. Discipline is not loud. It doesn't seek attention. It shows up quietly every single day and asks you one question: will you honor the path you chose yesterday, or will you abandon it today? In that question lies the test, not a test of strength, but a test of commitment. Are you willing to do the work, even when no one is watching? Are you willing to keep your word, even when it's uncomfortable? Are you willing to stand firm in your routine when everything around you tempts you to break it? Many people wait for motivation to return before they act, but those who rely on discipline know they cannot afford to wait. Because motivation is inconsistent, it rises and falls like the tide, but discipline, when cultivated, becomes steady like the mountain. It becomes a force within you that does not need to be renewed every day. It is simply there, guiding your actions, shaping your habits, strengthening your will. In the early morning, when your bed feels warm and the world still sleeps, discipline is what pulls you out. When your mind is full of doubt, when excuses start to whisper, discipline is the voice that says, do it anyway. When others give up, when setbacks appear, when progress feels invisible, discipline keeps you moving forward, step by step, day by day. It is not concerned with speed. It is concerned with direction. To walk with discipline means to build trust with yourself. It means proving to yourself that you will do what you said you would do. That trust cannot be built in a single act. It is built over time, repetition, consistency, integrity. Discipline is not about achieving perfection. It is about refusing to betray yourself. It is about recognizing that every time you keep your word, you become stronger, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. There will be days when everything feels heavy, when your mind tells you to skip the practice, when your emotions argue for comfort, when the world seems to reward laziness and shortcuts. On those days, the presence of discipline becomes even more powerful. Because it does not require you to feel ready, it only requires you to show up, and every time you do, you are reinforcing the identity of someone who does not quit, someone who leads themselves, someone who walks the talk. You begin to notice that discipline brings a certain kind of freedom, not the freedom to avoid effort, but the freedom to move with confidence, to know that you have what it takes to face the challenge, to know that you are not controlled by impulses or fleeting moods, to know that you are rooted in something deeper than temporary feelings. That is true strength, not in avoiding struggle, but in being willing to face it, prepared and centered. The beauty of discipline is that it builds on itself. Every act of consistency makes the next one easier. Every time you honor your routine, your path becomes more clear. You start to experience the quiet joy of progress, the satisfaction of knowing that you are no longer waiting for life to happen. You are shaping it with your actions, and even when no one sees the effort, you see it. You feel it, you carry it with you in the way you walk, the way you speak, the way you respond to difficulty. Discipline is not your enemy, it is your companion, a silent guardian that walks beside you, especially when things get hard. It is not something to fear, it is something to embrace. In a world full of distractions, noise, and constant demands, the ability to act with strength comes from having clarity of purpose. Without clarity, even the most energetic person will waste time and energy on things that do not matter. They will chase goals that are not truly theirs, follow paths that lead nowhere, and find themselves exhausted without knowing why. But when there is clarity of purpose, every step is intentional. Every action has direction. Every decision becomes simpler, not because life is easy, but because the mind is no longer divided. It is aligned. Clarity of purpose does not come from outside approval. It does not come from comparing yourself to others or following what is popular. It is something discovered in silence, cultivated through reflection, and strengthened by experience. It is a deep inner knowing that says, "This is who I am, this is where I'm going, and this is why it matters." When that clarity is present, confusion weakens, hesitation fades, and strength begins to rise, not as something forced, but as something natural. You no longer need to push yourself with intensity because the direction itself begins to pull you forward. Purpose acts as a compass. It keeps you from drifting. It protects you from temptation. It gives meaning to effort. When you know why you are doing something, the how becomes more bearable. The discipline becomes more sustainable. The sacrifices become more meaningful. Without that why, everything becomes heavy. You may begin strong, but you will not last. Because when the pressure builds, when discomfort appears, only clarity can keep you rooted. When others quit, when the path becomes lonely, purpose reminds you that your journey is not about speed or applause, but about alignment. To cultivate clarity, you must slow down. You must step back from the noise of the world and ask yourself the harder questions. What truly matters to me? What am I willing to endure discomfort for? What brings me alive? Not just temporarily, but deeply. This kind of inquiry does not always bring instant answers. Sometimes it takes time. Sometimes it takes failure, but every experience, when reflected upon, becomes a stepping stone toward clarity, and with each step your strength grows, not because the struggle ends, but because your reason for facing it becomes stronger. When you wake up each morning and remind yourself of your purpose, you are not just motivating yourself, you are grounding yourself. You are anchoring your energy to something stable. On days when you feel lost or unmotivated, returning to your purpose can bring immediate clarity. You stop asking, "Do I feel like it?" and start asking, "Does this align with who I am becoming?" That shift removes unnecessary decisions. It sharpens your focus. It clears the fog from your path. You begin to choose your actions based not on what feels good now, but on what brings you closer to your mission. Strength without clarity is dangerous. It becomes aggression. It becomes burnout. It becomes empty striving. But strength with clarity becomes unstoppable. It becomes focused, calm, resilient, like water carving through rock. Not through force, but through direction and persistence. You no longer need to prove yourself to anyone. You simply move forward, knowing that every step is rooted in intention. You begin to value quality over quantity, depth over speed, and meaning over appearance. Clarity also brings peace. It silences doubt. It reduces mental noise, because the more clearly you see your purpose, the less power fear has over you. The opinions of others lose their grip. Distractions lose their appeal. You begin to live not for validation, but for truth. Not for comfort, but for growth. And that kind of living is rare. It requires courage. It requires honesty. It requires the willingness to walk away from things that are not aligned, even if they are easy, familiar, or popular. Each morning is a chance to reconnect with that clarity. to ask yourself, who am I becoming? What am I building with my thoughts, my words, my actions? Am I living according to my deepest values, or am I being pulled by the noise of the world? These are not questions to fear, they are questions to welcome, because they sharpen your vision. They remind you that you are not just here to exist, you are here to move with purpose, you are here to live with meaning. You are here to bring strength not from chaos, but from clarity, and with that clarity, every small act becomes powerful, every routine becomes sacred, every challenge becomes a step forward. Growth is a word that many people speak about, but few truly understand. It is not a straight path, and it is certainly not a comfortable one. Real growth begins where comfort ends. It begins in the moments when you feel uncertain, when you are challenged, when the familiar no longer supports your evolution. Most people resist these moments. They avoid discomfort, avoid confrontation, avoid anything that threatens to shake their sense of ease. But the truth is, comfort is not where transformation happens. Comfort preserves who you are. Discomfort introduces you to who you can become. Each time you step outside of what is familiar, you open the door to growth. When you push your limits, when you choose effort over ease, when you decide to face what is difficult instead of running from it, you are growing, and that growth is not always visible right away. Sometimes it comes in silence, in small inner shifts. Sometimes it comes through failure, through falling and learning to rise again. Growth does not ask for perfection, it asks for courage, the courage to keep showing up, to keep facing what is uncomfortable, to keep choosing the hard path when it's the right one. Many people seek shortcuts. They want results without the process. They want wisdom without experience. They want strength without struggle. But growth does not work that way. You cannot read about it or wish for it. You must live it. You must be willing to go through the fire, to be reshaped by it, to let it burn away your old limitations. The version of you that is comfortable is not the version of you that will carry you forward. You must become someone who is willing to stretch, to be humbled, to fail forward, to break patterns that no longer serve you. The mind will resist this process. It will tell you to stay safe, to stay small, to avoid the unknown. It will try to convince you that discomfort is a sign to stop. But those who understand the nature of growth know that discomfort is not the enemy, it is the signal. It is the signal that you are stepping into new territory, that you are no longer repeating, but evolving, that you are moving beyond the life you've outgrown and into the life that is waiting for you. Discomfort is the doorway. You must learn to walk through it with awareness. There is a kind of strength that only comes from choosing the harder path, from saying yes to effort when the easier option is available, from holding your posture in chaos, from breathing calmly in the middle of stress. That strength does not appear overnight. It is built in the choices you make when no one is watching. It is built in the silence of practice, in the repetition of effort, in the decision to keep going even when results are not immediate. It is built by choosing growth over comfort again and again. The moment you begin to accept discomfort as part of your path is the moment your growth accelerates. You stop running from challenges. You stop complaining about obstacles. You begin to see them as opportunities, as mirrors, as tools. Every difficult conversation, every failed attempt, every early morning or late night, every stretch beyond what is easy becomes a teacher. A lesson, a building block. You are not the same after these moments. You become more aware, more focused, more capable, and eventually what once felt uncomfortable becomes your new normal. What once felt like a stretch becomes your foundation. This is the cycle of growth, to constantly meet your edge and then go just a little further, not recklessly, but intentionally, not for the sake of proving anything to the world, but to meet yourself at a deeper level, to discover what you're made of, to rise not because someone told you to, but because you know you must, because staying the same is no longer an option, because comfort now feels like a cage, and growth feels like freedom. In the end, you come to understand that the purpose of discomfort is not to punish you, but to shape you, to reveal the areas where you've been asleep, to awaken your potential, to remind you that you are still alive, still growing, still capable of becoming more. When you learn to embrace this, when you stop avoiding and start leaning in, you change your relationship with difficulty. You no longer ask for life to be easy. You ask for the strength to handle it. You ask for the wisdom to navigate it, and that shift in mindset changes everything. Each morning is not just the beginning of another day, it is the beginning of who you choose to become. The words you speak to yourself, the mindset you embrace, and the energy you carry forward are not small matters. They are the foundation upon which your entire life is built. When you take responsibility for your own energy, walk hand in hand with discipline, move with clarity of purpose, and willingly step beyond the edge of comfort, you are not simply surviving, you are evolving. You are shaping yourself into someone who lives with intention, with strength, with awareness. The journey is not easy, but it is honest. It is not perfect, but it is powerful. And every day you choose to begin again, to speak truth to yourself, to align your actions with your values. You walk the path of inner mastery. That is the way forward. That is the way within.